So welcome to this video, and this is going to be part 2 of the 2014 Pacific Hurricane Season forecast. And as I said, as I think I touched a few days ago when I made part 1, the El Nino is probably going to happen this year, and there's a chance it could be a borderline super El Nino that rivals 1997, the strongest El Nino in the recorded history. So that is a good indication for this season's Pacific Hurricane season. So on average, El Niños tend to lead to higher than normal activity, while neutral tend to, and La Niñas tend to lead to near or below average activity. It's not always the case, and there's several other factors. The El Nino is the main one. El Nino, by definition, is warmer than average waters across the equatorial tropic Pacific, and warmer waters means more hurricanes. But El Nino is not the only factor. Another factor is called PDO, Pacific Decadal Oscillation, and that is sort of like El Nino, but it's off like the west coast of California, mostly affects. And right now, for the first time in Generation 6, which is what I call the dead era, or post-1995, where Pacific hurricane activity became suppressed and PDO turned cold, we actually have some pretty decent, well, first time in 2006, we have some pretty decent warm PDO values of plus 0.97, contrary to what some of the anti-global warming gangs might have told you. But we have 0.97 degrees Celsius above average. Is why, oh, what? For a second I thought the video stopped, and I was like, what the heck? Anyway, so that's another very good indicator. Now, it's out a matter of wind shear. Well, as of right now, wind shear is above average in the equatorial Pacific. I think this video is going to be pretty loud. But anyway, wind shear is above average in the equatorial Pacific. That is a negative factor. So that means it could potentially inhibit the season. It's pretty much a negative factor, so you look at it that way. But the other positive factor is that vertical factor that one intertropical inversion zone is a bit south, but it can't get too far south. Otherwise, sometimes storms can have issues. But that is a factor. So we're kind of in an Atlantic Nino right now. That can lead to a more subtly intertropical inversion zone, which can lead to a lot of storms heading west now to sea. I'll get to storm tracks later. And then there's also been vertical instability, has been above average, which is good because that means it tends to lead to more stronger storms. Like 2009 had a lot of majors and it had really high vertical instability. I mean, it's not, I think it's a little overrated, but it's definitely a little overrated, but it's definitely a pretty important factor if you ask me. So those are pretty much 3 positive factors and 1 negative factor of all the big 4: PDO, ENSO, wind shear, and vertical instability. You get the big 4 in general. It's 3 positive, 1 negative. The second negative factor is how Pacific hurricane activity in general has been suppressed and quite westerly, with off tracks towards the Mexican coast. Since 1995, that has to do with PDO. I'm convinced of that. But PDO is positive right now. That's a good sign. So I don't think that'll have much of an effect. And even then, there's some benefits of the post-1995 like inactivity. Or post-1995 activity change that happened at the start of Generation 6. So, some of them could potentially affect the season. That could lead to more storms, like, for instance, storms tend to be more westerly, which means, unfortunately, they tend to affect land more. So that's a positive factor. And so that's a reason why we could see more storms than but it's still a negative factor in that the post-1995 cycle does lead to more shear. I mean, there's nothing you can't predict, you can't deny about that. So in the East, the East happens to be a very open basin between, like, storms are possible anywhere, anywhere, and can be any intensity at any time through the summer and fall of the respective years. It mostly depends on how much waves, because remember that the Atlantic activity during that time during Generation 5 was suppressed, so that meant sometimes the waves would dissipate without reaching the basin, or sometimes the MJO pulse would be too strong, and it would lead to too much convection, and it would take so long to consolidate that it wouldn't materialize. That even happened in 2013 a little bit. But we don't. But another advantage of the El Nino, but in Generation 6, El Nino seasons tend to be more like they were in Generation 5 of the 80s, late 70s, and early 90s. So look for that to be not as big of an issue this season. Oh, 6 minutes in already. Still, you know, it could still be a, so the negative or the dead air could still hurt some storms in some cases. That's what can prevent a crazy season. So I don't even think wind shear, although it's still average, and even though I don't list it as a negative factor, it's not negative enough to have a significant effect. It just can't be any crazy shear. I mean, shear is very coming on MJO, and right now we're still waiting for still shear, and we're in a downward MJO phase. That's my favorite, by the way. Anyway, there's, I think, a couple more things I have to say. That's the El Nino also leads to a more easterly shifting form central threat in Hawaii. That doesn't mean it can't affect land. In fact, El Ninos historically are very, very dangerous for the East Pacific, especially these non-regular Modoki El Ninos, these non-regular Modoki El Ninos, which I touched in part 1. So, do not let your guard down. They tend to be very dangerous. Iwa was retired and affected Hawaii. Among various other things. Humena in 2009 did some quite a bit of damage to Baja. In 2006, it was John Lane, which hit Mexico. Lane hit like Sinaloa, around that area, Jalisco, and John hit the Baja Peninsula. I mean, you can go further back. 1983 had Tico, which killed 100 people in central Mexico. Arcadius, which did record flooding, and in 1982 there was Paul, which killed over 1,000 people, arguably the most notable East Pacific storm of all time. And then, in addition, in 1982 there was a lot of which caused significant flooding in Central America, and kind of set the stage for Paul. So even in 1976 there was Kathleen, which is significant damage in the southwestern United States. Liza, the worst natural disaster in Baja California history, killed over 1,000. And how long in there? What, 8 minutes and 50, not 9 minutes in, so a couple more minutes. So that means that, so this season has turned to be really serious. We are overdue for an East Pacific hurricane landfall. Well, major hurricane landfall. So, we haven't had one since 2006. I mean, we've had Manuel last year, but that was a cat wet. We haven't had like a true Baja major. We haven't had a Baja hurricane landfall anyway since Femena in 2009. So, the basin probably will see one this year. It's an El Nino. I really cannot think of any El Nino that was a dud season aside from 1997. That warrants completely different discussion. I mean, if you ever want me to make a video on about 1997 PHS, I will, but no one really cares about this channel, so I'm probably not going to do it, but people, I might, who knows, and 10 minutes. So, what particular areas are the target spots this season? No, I'll release my named storm forecast. 18 named storms, 8 hurricanes, and 5 major hurricanes is what I currently expect. There's maybe a little bit conservative, probably is especially in the major hurricane department. That's what I'm going with for now. I'll probably change that at a later date. And I have a link of all what everyone else has predicted. And I'll probably post sooner or later. Maybe I'll post in the description, maybe I won't. But that's what but how do I expect the impacts to happen? They should be about not severe in the normal range. How do we expect the impacts? Well, 2 areas tend to strike out when there's a 2 things. 1, no lack of early season threats. That's the first one. The second one is Hawaii. Hawaii in general, whether like Niki in 92 was an El Nino, I didn't mention that. But Niki's probably the most well-known East Pacific hurricane, even though it probably isn't the worst. Cost like $2 billion of damage, and a repeat of a Niki today, man. The Ugo nuts. And Hawaii's overdue. That's one of the reasons why I think there's a chance we get something. So yes, Hawaii's at a high risk. So Hawaii's at an increased risk this season. Central America, well, just somewhat rare. And 2, they tend to be a Generation 6 kind of thing. They tend to happen La Niñas for some reason. Has to with easterly flow, though I think a few are missing from her that. But I haven't officially added them to my data set yet. So I can't officially recognize anything. And the only Central America landfall was in 1997 during El Nino. So I'd say they're actually at a decreased risk. Southern Mexico, well, had some really bad storms. The southwest El Ninos, like in Polly 2, Polly 97. So I'd say, yeah, they're at an increased risk. Western Mexico had Kenna in 02, but Kenna in 02, but nothing terrible has happened there. One of the worst ones, Java, was in 2011. So that's Lane 06 too. I mean, they're at a risk, but the risk isn't super high. I mean, Western Mexico, I mean, Nigeria, like, from Manzanillo to Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta North, again, is at a higher risk. This is the way the troughs tend to be curved. So, and then before I wrap this up, talk about Baja California, which is again at the higher risk, has a higher risk, the same reason as Sinaloa. Because, well, probably not going to get into. But the reason it's at a higher risk is because of the troughing that tends, in the trough set that tends to get through in El Ninos, tends to favor a lot of intense storms making landfall anywhere. Very few of these weak tropical storms near Baja kind of thing. When there's a landfall, it's usually for real. And that's why. So yes, there's probably Baja is probably at a decreased risk for landfall in general, but an increased risk of having a hurricane or greater make landfall. In the southwest United States, yes. They tend to get more rain, they're at an increased risk of flooding, the jet stream's lower. That tends to lead to tropical and extratropical moisture colliding. So yes, it's at an increased risk. And yes, it's time to wrap up this video. I'm signing off. Goodbye. Bye.